Let's talk some toys in here.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today is the Man Child. Alright, so today up for review, we're going to go over the Master Universe Origins Serpent Claw Man-at-Arms, part of the Wave 14 series. Now, of course, he's going to be the final figure in all my figure reviews for the Wave 14 series of figures. If you haven't seen my other videos, you can go check them out if you like. So, of course, we already went over Spike Ore, the Infiltrator Warrior, and then squeeze over here to the side. So pretty much Serpent Claw Man-at-Arms is a variant Man-at-Arms figure going back to the 2000X collection of toys. Now, I actually had this figure. I do have him laying around somewhere. I don't know where, but I do have the accessories and weapons. I bring it up because maybe I can try them in hands and compare it to the weapon they gave him, or the Serpent Claw. That'd be interesting to see. But anyway, it's the final figure in the line. He has a repaint. Sort of interesting, and let's check him out. And of course, before we take Man-at-Arms out of the package and give him a closer look, let's check out the art on the back of the card. Just gorgeous. You know, the Origins always has some of the coolest art. So we have an image or an illustration of our Serpent Claw Man-at-Arms here going head to head. I believe that character is called Stretch Neck. So he was a concept figure going back to the Snake Men. I think all the way back to the I want to say the vintage line, possibly the classics. He was never, you know, manufactured, produced into the line that I'm aware of, at least in the USA. And Mattel, you know, there are some teases of him going around. Now, if you haven't heard this before, maybe you did. Mattel did state at San Diego Comic-Con that they plan out finishing all the vintage-inspired figures in the Origins line, or completing the line. That's really cool, but they're going to go all Mattel Creations, and figures like this Stretch Neck and some other Snakeman concepts have been teased, and I have a feeling they're coming. If they do, though, like Laylee, Slither, and Fangor, who was also announced and, you know, images were shown, they're all going to be Mattel Creations for the time being. So, you know, it's kind of mixed on that whole thing. But anyway, that art's always awesome to look at. And dropping down to the left-hand side where they show the so-called action features or what the figure comes with. So it just says push the Serpent Claw over the hand and, of course, adjust the position to capture enemies. Now, this sort of interests me a little bit, this particular art on the side, because the 2000X one had a spring-loaded Serpent Claw that fired out, and I'll show that to you and bring it in and mix it up with this figure later on. So I'm not sure if this weapon does that or just clips in. I probably not. And then moving over here is just that nostalgic look at the current cross-sell of the Wave 14 figures and the Rise of Snakeman bio. And for you guys who haven't seen this before, this is the comic. It comes with all 4 figures. I did show it with each figure. I don't like being repetitious of stuff, but just bear with me for a second for you guys who haven't seen it or want more details. So yeah, it's called the Fading Fortress. Of course, it has Squeeze. And all the figures that they're promoting or future stuff coming up that they're promoting in the toy line, like Snake Mountain, which is coming real soon. So you can pause, take a look at that. You can see all the figures, Spike Ore, whatnot. You can try to pause and read it. There's our Serpent Man-at-Arms all over the place. Here he is shooting that weapon. And I'm just going to point out, too, seeing this weapon, it's kind of cool. It has like a nano laser-type rope thing, I want to call it, where the toy doesn't. It's just a plug-in piece. All right, and there's the last page. And this too, I noticed in the last comic. This was a Filmation, the Skeletor Filmation ship that went back to cartoon. That would be pretty neat to see in Origins, you know. You never know. Okay, now here's a look with Serpent Claw Man-at-Arms out of the package and with his accessories. Yeah, so here's your, obviously, your Serpent Claw mechanism, weapon. Of course, we'll go over that. And he does come with his iconic mace. It's, you know, in a metallic silver color like the Armored. But, yeah, that's all you're really getting is just a repainted Man-at-Arms. As I said earlier in the beginning of the video with that. Now you can see some fur. We'll take a closer look down in a second. The fur. And that's about it. So bringing in Serpent Claw Man-at-Arms for a closer look. Yeah, just, again, Man-at-Arms, the first release Man-at-Arms head with the mustache, eyes, the whole deal. Of course, I'll bring the original one, compare it a little bit. As far as your head articulation, right, you know, well, the whole deal can spin left to right or back and forth. You can go about that far down into that armor piece and then back. Now, so let's take a closer look at the face. Nothing, yeah, just black eyes. They didn't do any white highlights, and I actually painted my own figure heads. I showed that in my, again, Infiltrator video. Now, the helmet is, yeah, no other detail on it. It's just a dark blue color, obviously, to match closely his wrist bracers. But it's the vintage-inspired helmet from this Man-at-Arms that came with the Royal Guard pack. Now this one I painted my eyes white, as I mentioned in my other video. I think it looks cooler. I bring it up because you think Mattel at least do that, being that, you know, the newer figures are putting a lot of, some better attention to detail, depending on the figures. They could at least did that. It makes, I think, Man-at-Arms look better, you know. I don't know. Brings to life instead of a doll with black eyes. But you can see, so it's the same helmet, okay, that comes with this figure, but obviously you don't have the mustache. So the design is different, showing you that, than the first release. And again, I'll bring them in, compare in a little while. So that's the difference. So they're using that helmet with this head and the mustache, and it painted different. That's about it. All right, so I decided to bring the first release Man-at-Arms in for a comparison now. It's kind of important because there are little subtle differences, not much. So we already talked about the helmets, right? I showed this. Now you can see with the first release Man-at-Arms, obviously he has the mustache face, exactly what this figure has. Him too, I painted the eyes away a little bit, it looks better. I might do the same with him. But going back to the helmets again, see, they are different. There's a different design, and this is the first release. And yeah, there's no deco on it, where there's deco on this one, obviously. So that is different. The other important part, right, obviously the suits are totally different. Everything else is the same. Even the armor pieces they have on are the same, but they decided to do this upper piece silver to match the armor and club, mace. But then they just put the lower orange handguard on, you know, on this by the bracer, and then one on the foot. To be fair, that's what it shows in the art. I think it would have been just cool if they made it all silver, right? But all right, whatever. It's Motu, you can mix it up. And then the last thing why I have these two figures in is with the armor. Now, yeah, the sculpting. So let's take a look at this. You can see this close. Everything looks the same aside these fur pieces, right? But they are, again, just one color in silver. You can paint them up. They should be a different color, but it is Origins. And this face protector does look different. See, there's some raised pieces here, and then this one is more flat, right? So, and then if I turn it to the side, are they, I guess they stand out about the same. But it is a little different sculpting on this and the fur pieces, and it's spinning around in the back. So this is a solid piece now, and of course this is a strap, right? And is the arm all the same? Okay, and everything else is the same aside the colors. So we'll bring in Serpent Claw Man-at-Arms once again for a closer look. We did the head, we went over the armor, but just to take a closer look, because it was kind of far away, trying to compare both figures. Yeah, there's all your typical detail. We talked about the fur, this raised piece, these little raised ends on, or I don't know if they're supposed to be blades or what the purpose of that is, protect his face. Different color bodysuit, which is cool. Now, that's kind of always interesting, you know, or you can make believe it's skin or whatever you want, because it you know, you can make for different unique customs for all the figures, having a different color body. So that's the advantage. I'll take the armor off in a minute, take a look at that, but the articulations are all the same, up, down, forward, back, all the stuff, right? Bend at the elbow. He has two blue wrist bracers, all part of the sculpt, okay? And of course, he comes with two semi-weapon gripping hands, I call them. They can spin, go in and out. I'll go over the club in a second. Yeah, and we already looked at the back, so we know it's a solid piece. We know you can spin at the waist, break apart at the waist, you know, all typical stuff. And then, of course, the armor on the one side, typical. We know the arm can come out for customs. Pop that back in. There's your head and ball peg, right? Comes off apart real easy. And then moving down, it's going to go out with the legs for a split to do, you know, finish up the articulation. He can kick forward, go back, and at the knee, spin at the knee. And then, you know, of course, spin at the boot, and the foot can go up and down, rock side to side, and even with this piece on the leg. So to break this figure down, we already know the head comes off like that. And then his forearm guards, you can slide it right off the hand. And then the silver shoulder piece can pull off. And then moving down to the leg, you're just going to snap that strap off and take this ankle bracer off. And then moving back to this new armor, you're just going to snap this side like this, and then pop that side. And then the whole armor is just going to pull right off the body. And once again, here's a closer look with the armor now off the body, right? Just typical Origins style armor, real soft. And of course, you can see all the colors and the design. And here's a quick look, of course, with all the parts off the body and the weapons and stuff what you get when everything's separated. And now here's a quick look with Man-at-Arms with all the armor off and the overall new skin suit or body color for just customs. Of course, it's typical He-Man, Skeletor, Buck, nothing new. Muscle stacks are the same. And I put the head back on just to, for effect. And moving on to Serpent Claw Man-at-Arms accessories. So, as I already showed, he just comes with his iconic mace, but now it's in a metallic silver to match the armor. And you can see it's identical to this orange mace, nothing different, besides the color. And then, of course, the most important new accessory, or what the whole concept of this figure is, aside the different color in the body and it's armored, is the mechanical serpent claw. So you can kind of see how that works. The arm will go in here. We'll try that soon. Yeah, it looks like it could be a dual weapon. Like this could be a blaster or something, right, in theory. It sits up like this, and here's your mechanical claw now. It doesn't have a spring, doesn't have no nanotechnological laser rope like the image. And it just pops right out. It's on a peg. Doesn't matter how you put it in. You can spin it left to right, all around. Right, so there's the weapon without it. And there's a closer look at the claw without it. And yeah, it's just in a laser green color. I guess that's what it's supposed to be. Some kind of energy weapon. And it's well sculpted. Got a metal piece in there. But I thought that was a magnet at first. Doesn't hold anything. I tried it. So let's check out some comparisons like I mentioned earlier in the video. So here was the Serpent Claw Man-at-Arms 2000X figures. That was his weapon. I mean, they were detailed in the day. You know, the figures were they lacked articulation, but they had a lot better detail. It's a little bit bigger. The design is very much the same. Okay, but obviously it's bigger. It's a different color. And look at that claw. Let's see. So it's larger, a little bit wider. It doesn't articulate. I don't think it articulates, does it? No, it looks like it can move. But this one's on a spring effect, so I'm going to show you that. So backing up the camera for a minute, right? I'm holding it back only about a foot from my wall there. This one has a button, right? Now this one don't, just flat on the bottom. And look at that, it shoots. Man, that thing has some force. That would have been cool if the Origins one did that, but you know, in this day and age with Mattel and trying to market this stuff to kids, which most of the collectors are buying it now, yeah, the child safety standards and all that good stuff. And in the 90s, this was fun, but I guess if you shoot something like that and hit you, your brother, your dog in the eye, it could cause some injuries. It has a lot of force, but it is cool. So aside, one weapon has an action feature, and the other one technically don't. It just spins. I was curious if you did manage to get a hold of these weapons out of Man-at-Arms. So we know this spring-firing claw goes in this one. Will it work in this Origins one, just for effect? No, won't go in there. It's too long, and what would the Origins one look like in here? Oh, look at that. I wonder if it will fire. Nope, can't go back all the way. All right, I thought I'd try those two, just different claws and parts. And moving back to his typical mace that the Origins Man-at-Arms comes with. This was the mace energy weapon that the 2000X Serpent Claw Man-at-Arms come with. Check that out. It's awesome. So it's reminiscent of his claw, but a lot larger. More of like a police, the PR-24 one is to call them, right? So you could swing it like this or clip it in your hand. Yeah, got this awesome one, and then this energy effect. And look at that. That has that nano laser rope coming out, which is cool with another type of claw. I think it spins. Yeah, it kind of spins. That's a cool weapon. I'm gonna so I'll try this in my Man-at-Arms in the arms just to see what it looks like. All right, so I set Man-at-Arms all back up, obviously, with his whole armor set up, and we're gonna put this weapon. It's gonna put it in the right hand for now, so it looks like the gripping hand with the thumb up is going to have to go in the up position. Because you can almost see it's like a piece in there for the thumb to pass through. And he's just going to hold it like that. It's going to lock into the forearm. And now here's a look with Serpent Claw Man-at-Arms all armed up with a Serpent Claw, a mace. And you could put it either hand. Now, put the Serpent Claw, obviously, on that arm. You'd have to take the guard off. Not a big deal. You get the point. But you want to take a look at that. Pretty neat. And here's a quick battle scene between Man-at-Arms and a new Squeeze figure. And of course, Squeeze is very awkward with his arms, but just wanted to show the play feature with the Serpent Claw and how it would clip. Looks like around the waist. You could clip it on the head, but it's going to work something like that. Now here's another look where Man-at-Arms would fire it and the grapple claw would go around the whole buck the other way around, so it would go over the shoulders and around that part of the body. Again, Squeeze is a strange setup with that armor that can't come off, but that's how it worked either way. Now, see, that would be interesting going back to this weapon, or you want to modify, you know, there should be something that would plug into this weapon and plug onto the end of that to make that laser grapple weapon. That's the whole point of it, you know, I guess, and according to art, but you want to take a look at that. It's fun for what it is. Now, here's a look with the Serpent Claw Man-at-Arms holding that 2000X figure's Serpent Claw grapple gun, whatever you want to call it, but that looks cool and works really well. You have to turn the hand the other way, though, the opposite now, to push it inside from what I see. Here's a look, once again, a Man-at-Arms fight and Squeeze. You know, we have him out with that 2000X Serpent Claw weapon, and that claw is even, yeah, it can go around the body more because it's like wider, especially on this figure. And having a little fun with the 2000X weapon on the Origins Man-at-Arms hand still and squeezing the background. This does have an action feature. Let's see what the claw does when I hit him from barely a foot away. Okay, just bounced off him, but still, he's heavy too, and the arms holds him forward, but his claw has a lot of force. Pretty cool. And now here's a quick look with our Serpent Claw Man-at-Arms with that 2000X Club Mace energy firing claw weapon. Of course, I attach it to squeeze. Now, it don't hold as good as the Serpent Claw, but I think that was the idea of it. And it does look cool. Again, it has that laser rope that you can use on this, or cut it if you don't want to, and modify it to one of these claws with some kind of, you'd have to plug in each end when you use it for effect. I mean, once you do that, you're not going to fire it in out of these, but you want to take a look at that. I think it's pretty neat. Okay, so moving on to a little mixing and matching parts is part of what I do, obviously. I mean, again, it's just another variant Man-at-Arms with a different skin suit. So obviously, I put the vintage Inspire head that came in the Palace Guard I call it a two-pack. It's not, I mean, there's two heads in it. It's one single card, but let's just call it the two-pack because that's what the classics did. But the Palace Guard pack without the mustache and has that lighter blue helmet. And again, it can work because you can mix colors up. And of course, I put the other orange club in hand and kept the armored on. Some kind of setup, so you want to check that out. Okay, next I'm just going to put the Serpent Claw weapon back in the right arm for now, the club in the left, and then put the first release Man-at-Arms helmet on with the mustache, but that other color helmet, you know, just, yeah, mix it up, see what that looks like on that body with the armored. And once again, the same setup, but now I put that Infiltrator Snake Man head on this body with all the armored setup, and it does, you can pull this out, it does work and can articulate really well, go, you know, down, back, for the whole deal. Yeah, that's all the Infiltrator was just another Royal Guard Man-at-Arms body, but now you can do the same thing with this color skin, you know, bodysuit and armored. So for the next setup, I just transferred all the first release Man-at-Arms armored, the arm pieces on the one side, the orange club, of course the light piece, and the vintage Inspire head without the mustache, my painted eyes of course, but over to this body. So if you wanted to make another version of Man-at-Arms with the new color skin suit, you do. And of course I kept that claw on that, you know, hand, why not? And here's the same setup, and now I put the first release mustache head on this body, so you can take a look at that with that armored claw, the whole deal. So here's another custom setup. Again, we're focusing on that new color of the body, weapon in hand. I put the original Man-at-Arms head that this figure came with on, and I put the Infiltrator armored, both sides, Man-at-Arm armor, but of course this chest plate on this figure. So you can take a look at that. So that's what came off this Infiltrator figure. Again, it's, you know, almost a repaint of another Man-at-Arms, but this body's unique to make custom. So that's what I'm kind of doing. And now just by throwing that Infiltrator Snake Man head on that body with that setup, you got another Infiltrator Warrior with just a kind of a different look because of the bodysuit. And you can use the claw. And yeah, that claw can push over these armor pieces if you try. I'm just leaving it on the right hand for now. But you want to take a look at that. And yeah, it gives a little bit of a different look for that character. And then for one more cheap idea or army build and whatnot, you just throw one of the Palace Guards, or Royal Guard helmet on. And now you have another Royal Guard with that armored in the different color skin suit. It could be a different rank. Now I'm going to bring in the body, the Royal Guard. Of course, it was a Man-at-Arms skin suit body, same color. The armor, though, so this was the Infiltrator's armor, and this was the, you know, the armor came off him, the Royal Guard. The colors are different, you can see under the light. There's a little more detail and stuff like that, but for the most part, we're just doing the same thing, you know, so you can make your Infiltrator Warrior, your Royal Guard with that armor. You take that off, you put Man-at-Arms armored on, you make a Man-at-Arms, put some weapons in hand. You get the idea. You can do all kinds of stuff. So getting back to Serpent Claw Man-at-Arms all set up one last time. And here's a look with all four figures, part of Wave 14 series that I reviewed. You want to see them together. As far as a recap, I think Spike is my favorite. I absolutely love the way he was just done and remastered. Colors, the spikes, he looks so much like the vintage, but, you know, articulated. Some issues is, not issues, but I think it's weird that he doesn't have a, his buck is basically the spikes or the piece underneath, so it doesn't come off for customizers, but that's okay with me. The other complaint, too, was that the Trident wasn't vac metal chrome plated. I honestly forgot that the vintage and the classics was. Doesn't bother me, but that's another complaint, so Mattel did kind of, I guess, cheap out or just eliminate that from the later, early images, I want to say. Okay, we got the Infiltrator Warrior over here, Snake Warrior. Pretty cool. The helmet, the face pulls down. Just comes with basically Royal Guard armor all over, Man-at-Arms, you know, armored all over the place. A couple different weapons. Aside that, just another repaint, but he is good to mix with customs because of the body, and I showed that in a video. Squeeze is really cool, one of the best figures yet. Another flaw, again, is the armor doesn't come off, so it's tough for customizers to do that. I showed it in a video. It's just all its own sculpt. But once again, for me, it's okay because it's, I'm just going to keep him vintage, go old school vintage again. It comes with this weird pet snake weapon. Doesn't hold so well. The arms fall. You can change the arms out with whiplash. I also showed that and make some cool customs, but you would need a whiplash, which is expensive and hard to get today because it's the only figure that really matches his color with those arms. But beside that, I'm just leaving them as is. Getting back to Man-at-Arms, or this Serpent Claw Man-at-Arms, it's a cool variant if you want variants of a Man-at-Arms figure from a 2000X show. The only thing you really get unique is some silver armored here and then a top piece. It does have different sculpting like I showed. And the claw weapon, but it doesn't shoot out. It just does its own thing. I didn't expect it to fire for Origins. But you have the 2000X weapons laying around. You want to buy them on eBay. They do work cool in this figure, And you do get that skin and bodysuit, I'm going to call it, for, customs and just having a different color bodies. Some people can create some really cool customs like I did with armors and heads and, just trying to stick to the Man-at-Arms Palace Guard theme, okay? So, hope that I answered all you guys' questions. I appreciate everybody watching. And until next time, take care.